Good morning. As you can see, things have changed around here a little bit. And part of this dramatic shift, to take note, I missed a recording yesterday. Here's why. I was set up to record. I did my practice and I looked at the time and I still needed to eat. And it's like, I'm going to be late for work if I don't attend to those needs. I have a few minutes to sit and meditate here, so I'm going to do that. That's what I did. Yesterday also started very early. Melissa and I were up by 5. We set up the pop-up trailer that we borrowed from our friend, and we set it up, gutted it, hence a lot of this stuff, and started cleaning it out. We needed to know that we knew how to set it up. If there was anything that needed to be resolved, we needed to take care of that. Secondly, the truck had a few things that needed to be taken care of, and it needed to get down to the shop that we've been taking it to, because they do great work at an incredibly affordable price, much more so. I mean, the cost of their work is 60%, 50 to 60% of any other garage I've talked to with, big name and reputable, whatever. These guys are reputable too. They've got great recommendations on the site. I've been going to them. They had great recommendations. That's how we found out about them. But it's way down in Chandler. It takes a half hour to get there. So my good friend Everett, he met me here early, 7 o'clock, got the truck down there, and had a little meeting with the mechanic, explained everything that needed to be done, and he expects it should be ready by Saturday. Hopefully, that's going to be the case. It's going to be done by Saturday, because Sunday is my last day at work, and Mondays are day off, and we'll be packing, doing everything, and our plan is to leave on Tuesday for Earthship Biotecture, Taos, New Mexico. Here we come. And I had intended then, after my work shift, okay, here's the other funny thing. Riding back up from Chandler, just had a great conversation, connection with Everett around that. But I was thinking, I knew I worked a lunch shift. I thought I was 11 o'clock. And we were riding right down Camelback, right past True Food, and I could see, none of the opening side work had started. I knew it was too early for that, but I was like, hey, True Food, I'll see you in a little bit. And got home and was like, I'm just going to check my schedule just to be sure. Turns out I was an opener. And it all worked out. But that was why I didn't get the recording in. I made time for my practice, but I thought I had another 45 minutes before I had to be there. And so I was like, okay, I'll do it when I get home. And it was hot yesterday. And I did get done early, but then there was a 3 o'clock trainer meeting, and I'm a server trainer. So I didn't get home till approaching 5 o'clock. And Melissa got home about the same time, and we were going to tackle all this, start sorting, and this is a sorting process here. We have piles of things that we know we're taking, and they're sorted by how they're used. And then there's a whole other pile in a different room of things that were in the trailer that we do not need this period. So we're trying to keep it as light and focused as we need to. I didn't have any part of this really other than getting it out of the trailer, because came home, we both felt like we needed a nap. And I also needed to go to the grocery store, get some dishwasher tabs so we could run things through the dishwasher. And I passed out on my nap. I didn't wake up till this morning. And Melissa, bless her heart, let me rest. And she did all this sorting. This is what I found when I got up this morning. So I lost practice space, but I made a little space just to do my exercises, stretches, pranayama, agnisara, pranadharana, and relaxation and meditation. And as you can tell, I feel pretty vibrant this morning. Thank goodness, I have an open double shift today, and then tomorrow's off, so I will have time to get more stuff done. It's all exciting, as I've already said. Anyhow, so that's the catch-up to where we're at now. And not much to say about practice today. I mean, it was practice. It felt wonderful. It was focused and delicious. I did experience again in pranadharana, and again, it's always a little more pronounced after the second round of when doing the prana pratishtha, moving the prana from the eyebrow with intention to the navel center, was that coolness, but it's hot. It's this cool, swirling presence, energetic presence that just feels like it fills this area and expands beyond. It's just phenomenal. But I want to acknowledge that I'm not attached to that. It's appreciation. I appreciate and recognize that it's something special. It's something very focused and concentrated. But I don't hold an attachment to an expectation that that's the way it is every time I practice. It's not necessary. I wanted to mention something about, I wanted to talk about what happened while I was passed out. Because I don't often remember my dreams. I'm working towards a point where my intention is to remember more of my dreams more vividly. Because, all right, little footnote here. A couple days ago, I watched a TEDx talk. These are, TEDx are side events from the main TED events where experts from an area come and they talk about their thing, technology, education, design. Or maybe it's technology, entertainment, and design. I think that's what TED. But there was a new talk from Alex Gray, who I've followed. I've read some of his books, and he did a TEDx talk on one of the islands in Hawaii. This year or last year, I don't remember the date, but it was on cosmic consciousness, how art evolves consciousness. And it was really wonderfully, because they're 20-minute talks, encapsulated talk that focused so much of what I have read, he has said, into that encapsulated time. And there's parts of that have stuck with me with where I'm at, and I'm beginning to use in my own communication and dissemination of my understanding. I say that a lot. I'm going to work on that, reducing my own. The key thing that he mentioned that's sticking with me right now is, well, if you're familiar with Alex Gray's art, there's a lot of anatomical aspect and energetic depictions. And he had worked in a morgue early on, and part of that was almost following the lines of Leonardo da Vinci, studying anatomy, studying this physical body, and understanding, recognizing that there's something more. I mean, where does these thoughts and the ideas, it's not just what we've been told, oh, these are chemical things happening in your brain. No, the body is just the box that consciousness comes in. You are much, much more than this physical body. And I've said this in earlier journal entries, I know. So that was the key. This physical body is this box. And not to make it, too mundane or dumbed down, because it's an amazing box. It's a beautiful box. A box is a container. What's inside that container? And then furthermore, what moves that container? Does your container just sit on a shelf to just sit there? Or is it something that's so special that it gets carried around? You take it with you because what's in that box is so special. You want to share it with everyone. You want everyone to see this beautiful box that you have. Caught at that time. So what is it that moves that box? We start looking at a hierarchy. You are more than this box. You are more than just this body. You have an energetic body that helps move, support, nourish. If your box becomes damaged, it revitalizes it, heals it, regrows it. It's a living container, a living vessel, continually changing and evolving. Your container doesn't always look the same. It changes because that is the natural state of things, to change. We've been too stuck for too long in a pattern of understanding and seeing the way things are, and that is changing. So that's part of, I was going to wrap that in. We sometimes adapting your thoughts to understanding that there's much more. Your thoughts and your dreams. I was tying into dreams. We were told growing up that your thoughts and even your dreams are just, random synapse firings in your brain, producing images based on recalled experience. And elements of that are absolutely true. That is definitely happening. But there's much more. There's much, much more going on. And so I'm just going to go back into my dream now. Because it was wonderful. And it was an out-of-body, visceral experience. It's like I was in my body, but I was somewhere else. On another plane, on another dimension, with other teachers, with other students, in a familiar environment. I saw the university I attended, with familiar aspects and in a way that felt familiar, with familiar instructors, and even some of my other teachers. Sherry Friedrichsen was there. I believe Sandy was also there, but they were faculty at my university. There were other students who I remember being with, and they were sharing, and there were all other people at this collective university. You don't know everyone you go to school with in this physical body. We're all there having our collective experiences, learning what we need to learn, what we believe is what we are drawn to. There were other elements there. It felt almost alien, but in that same way that an alien would be a foreign presence to us, indigenous cultures have a way of being that is foreign to us just because we didn't grow up in it. It's not familiar to us. Some of the other things I've studied have been Aboriginal art, the spiritual universe of the South African Bushmen, the Kalahari. So there were a lot, I began to see more and more of these types of faces there. They're what I call, they had an alien presence, but it was foreign. They looked indigenous, Amazon, like Amazons. Maybe they were images of thrown back culture of Atlantis. I mentioned Aboriginal. There were South African, American Indian, and they were these bodies that had this appearance that was an amalgamation of all these different cultures and understandings. and they were teachers. Some looked like sadhus from India. Different kinds of face paintings and adornments, and they were all in different groups. And there were parts of the university that were wilderness landscape. And actually, at my university, we had a wonderful arboretum trail that encompassed the whole grounds. And the whole while I was growing up, there's ravines and rivers and forests that run through these trails. They've always been well maintained. And since I was a little boy, both my parents went to the same school. They would take me on those trails, and that was a playground for me. It's like 3 miles from the house that we grew up in. My mom still lives. It's still home to me. And university is still home to me. But that was a place where I said, I'm going to go ride the trails. My parents would say, okay, you can go. I would take my bicycle, I would meet up with some of my friends, and we would go play on the trails. But so part of my dream had that tied in. There were trails that I was walking through. Buildings looked different. They were interconnected in the same way. That was the unique thing about my school, University of Wisconsin-Green Bay. It's the only one of the UW system is largely facilitated because of the cold winter climate. Every single building is interconnected by an underground network of tunnels. They call them the tunnels. So that was still there. But some of the buildings, they had a similar facade, very Art Deco, because that's when the school was founded in that period of the 19th century. But some of them looked different. Studio Arts still had a similar look, so did Theater Arts, but they were like one building. And there were meetings of people going on, some looking like Westerners, and then huddled in, people coming and going from classes and meetings. And it was beautiful and vibrant. There were other light bodies with, just colorful and translucent. And you could see it. That's why I equate it to energy. It was a physical presence that moved through space with a conscious fashion. But they were here and there, in more than one place at once. There were places that were daylight and places that were night. And I ended up coming to a classroom where I had different art teachers who were there. And this is where Sherry definitely was. And there was someone who I recognized as a peer student who I ended up sitting down and talking with. But the same way, I recognized my presence here. It's like I was a new student, finding my way around, and very similar to a child that I would observe at the restaurant, who, they're just there in the space. They're observing everything. They're curious, checking everything out. They want to get up and walk around and explore everything, but they aren't entirely focused on what's going on. It's like and this happened at the Institute. I'm sure there are many important lectures, things that Punji was communicating, but for whatever reason the focus wasn't there. One of the ways we attribute that, or would attribute that, lack of focus would be like it's something that you weren't ready for, and that's one of the ways the tradition protects itself. Punji described, like he'll be lecturing, and he'll be on a direction of thought, but he will experience an absolute roadblock that you cannot get past. You know what's over there, but you cannot communicate what's there. It's the tradition protecting itself, saying that in this moment in time, in this audience, this is not the forum in which to discuss that. You need to find another way. And that's kind of what happened. Like, yes, I was supposed to be there in that dimension of my dream. And I was supposed to be present with those people, and they were probably also becoming acclimated to my presence. But it was my time to explore. It's like I climbed the tree. This classroom that I ended up in, the people were floating. Sherry was floating, but it was like they were sitting in a group, not at a level table, or at different levels, and whoever was speaking suddenly has like an aura around them. This is really awesome. I never remember things like this. No, intention, delete. I'm excited about remembering more and more things like this. This is very exciting to me. And there were trees, and there was a grassy ground. I mean, the whole space of the classroom just felt lush and rich. And the entrance was up higher, and it's like you came down, and there were stairs, but it was more like floating down into the room. And then midway up there was kind of a counter space. And I remember ending up there with this other student who was at my level and was communicating with me, specifically about my breathing and congestion. And they said, like, there was this particular practice that I needed to do. And the name of it, I mean, specifically tied to what they were observing, the quality of my breath. There was this congested, restricted, fuzzy feeling in breathing through the nose. It was like Nada Maya. I think that was the name that they gave me. Nada Maya. Maya being the illusion. Nada in Spanish is nothing, but it also is connected to nadi, which are our energy channels. So I don't know, the illusion of nothing, the energetic channel of, I don't know. We'll rest with that. We'll see if it's something or if they're a more accurate interpretation.